now listening to AfroCurators, the podcast, where we highlight creatives, influencers, and culture shifters of African descent. They all have three things in common. They are embracing their culture, they pursue their purpose, and they curate their own legacy. I'm your host, Sky Dahan. Now let's dig into the story. Dr. Chi is a former college athlete turned MD and entrepreneur. As a first-generation Nigerian American, Dr. Chi allowed her culture and faith to shape her values with serving others. She played 4 years of college basketball at the University of South Florida, and although she loved basketball, Dr. Chi knew that her real passion was for medicine. She enrolled in medical school in 2011 and obtained her MD in 2015. She currently practices medicine in the state of Florida and utilizes her platform through creativity to teach us how to live better lifestyles through wellness, eating better, and knowing better. So excited. She dropped so many gems in this episode, and I cannot wait for you to listen in. Super excited to have you, Dr. Chi, in the chair today. You've done some incredible work within the medical space, but you've also done a ton of work in, your own personal branding, particularly in the area of just like maintaining balance, maintaining, wellness and sanity in the era of COVID. So before we dive into all of that, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So tell me about yourself.
So thanks for having me. I am excited to be on this lovely podcast. My name is Dr. Chi. My full name is Chinyere Okpaleke, MD.
Okay. Wait, say it again for the people that didn't hear it. Hey, let these people know.
Chinyere Okpaleke, MD.
MD at the end.
MD at the end. Let me stop.
It.
So Nigerian background. I grew up in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. And pretty much from there, I went on to play basketball at the University of South Florida and got my master's at the same college. And then go Bulls, yes. And then went on to med school. And finished as a family medicine physician. And I'm currently working still in the Tampa Bay area and just excited to continue to serve my patients and also do just a lot of things in the community as well. So that's a little background of me. How about you, Sky?
Oh, wow. No, I love that. I feel like you have done so much as a fellow USF Bull. I remember you killing it on the basketball court and just really being such a force on campus, and everything that you've done thus far has made me proud as a fellow Nigerian, but also made me proud as a fellow USF Bull. So I'm just your host in this instance, but I have a ton of experience within the startup world and entrepreneurship. And obviously, we have our heritage in common, and I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit more about what it was like for you growing up in a Nigerian American household. I'd love to know when you actually realized you were African.
Ooh, when did I realize I was African?
It's a good question, but it's also like, I don't know when I've thought of that. But you think about it, there's probably something that's happened in your life where you're like, wait a minute.
This is different.
Yeah.
I think there's multiple times, but I think overall, I would say I noticed that in our household, our parents were, I didn't know it, but they were strict. I didn't think of it as strict, but then I would compare it to my American friends, and I'm like, oh, you can't spend the night? Oh, you can't go to the movies? Oh, you can't come over? Like, it'll be questions, like they'll ask me these questions like, how come you can't do these things? I just like, because that's just what it is. I thought that was a norm. I was like, oh, you guys do that? So I figured that I think that's part of the Nigerian culture, just being very strict and making sure that our books were number one. We studied and we made sure that that was a priority to be successful. When you're third grade or fourth grade, they don't necessarily bang it in your head, but they are little clues are fed into you daily. You don't realize it, but they're training you for something important. So I wouldn't say there's one thing, but just looking back, it was just that constant reminder that you have to do what you had to do to succeed. But I can say actually the food in the household. One thing in particular for me is like, I remember going on like a field trip and we actually went to like a restaurant to eat food. And the food just tastes different to me. I was like, this is how regular food tastes? Like, this is how chicken, I was completely blindsided. I was like, why are people liking this? What, it tastes good to them? Because in our house, my mom always cooked. There's always fufu or fried rice or jollof rice or red stew, yam. Like all the time, there was just food that was
Yeah.
cultural for us. And so I think that was like a moment of, wow, people eat different.
So, speaking of then the Nigerian culture, have you ever been? Tell me about that experience if you've been to Nigeria.
Yeah, so my parents were actually pretty good at bringing us to Nigeria when we were younger. I think the first time I was there was probably before I was 1 year old. And
Oh, wow.
then from there, we probably went maybe 3 or 4 times actually as I was growing up. So when I was in elementary school, we went again, and another time after that. So when we went, we would stay there for at least 2 months or so during the summer.
Wow, that's
We would
awesome.
stay in the village. So we was in the village, like
In the bush, yeah.
like NEPA would take lights daily. You know what I mean? So we had got the
Hopefully you had generators. Hopefully you had generators.
came and go. It was come and go. Like you never knew what was going to happen.
Wow.
So we really got the grit of Niger life growing up. So that was good. And then I went again as, I guess, an adult to where I appreciated it. The last time I went was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was last year with my mom. I went last year with my mom, and that was an experience I loved. I cherished and I appreciated Nigerian culture to the fullest because, you know, when you're younger, it's fun, it's cool. But when you're actually there as an adult, after you read about it or you try to learn the language, things like that, and you're experiencing it firsthand, you really get to see everything that you grew up as in the household, but it's like full frontal. And I just appreciated it more and made me want to come back. Like I'm definitely planning to go again next year, hopefully post-COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely been to Nigeria several times.
I love that. I love that you went when you were 1 year old. I think there's something unique also for you having gone, you know, at multiple points in your life as you were growing up too. I'm sure there was some like normalizing factor to that too.
Right. And you just, again, when you come back to America, you realize how much, I don't want to say easier, but we take things for granted here. In Nigeria, they understand what it takes to do hard work. They understand why they press studying so much and why they press that you have to do things to succeed. It's very hard. It's difficult over there. So when you come back, you appreciate a lot of things more and you try not to take things for granted.
Wow, I love that. I think it's a good segue into from working hard and like seeing by our parents, you know, we're very cognizant and intentional about us like studying all the time and like, no, you can't have a slumber party, but you can read a book. You know what I mean? Like they were very, at least for me, very intentional around that. It seems very similar for you. And so I'd love to see how that's transitioned into your career, right? Because you have gone, I would say, like a semi-traditional route in that. You know, I'm sure there was conversations around going into the medical field or maybe not. I'd love to see how like growing up, is that what you always thought you were going to do? And kind of how have you really progressed throughout your career now?
So my father is a physician and my mother is a physician assistant.
Okay. All right.
So we have that kind of healthcare in our family already.
Yeah.
So Niger parents naturally want all their kids to be doctors. You know, that's just like a natural thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not necessarily realistic, but for me, I had to make it into my own goals. I had to make it into my own desire. If this is something I really want to do, not by force or anything like that. So I was on that trajectory during high school. I started picking up the basketball and learned how to play, and I was surprisingly really good. So then I got a scholarship to University of South Florida, who was recognized for, you know, having a really good med school and a good health system in general. So that geared me to sign to University of South Florida. So when I got there, I knew that I was planning on being a doctor, but I had to major in a major that no one really does while playing basketball. You know, when you're an athlete, they stress, you know, they want you to succeed in your sport, but they also don't really stress too much about being a student. But I knew I had to be a good student to be a doctor. So I had to major in biomedical science. And that was what I chose. And they were kind of confused. They were like, I don't think you could do this and play basketball. That nobody really does that. I mean, you could do communication or you could do like business or maybe some type of physical education, but biomedical science, yeah, no one does that. So how are you going to be able to study all those classes and go to practice and go to games and travel? So that was my first hurdle and my first like questioning of myself, like, can I even do this? I mean, even the coaches were doubting. I had people who guide you, the professors and stuff, you know, they're questioning me as well. And my advisors, they asked me, I don't think you could do this. Do you think you can? So I was questioned many times. So it was that time that during undergrad, I had to kind of reel back and say, hey, Chi, do you really want to be a doctor? Because there's another option here.
Yeah.
But thankfully, with my support system, with my family, my mom, really just making me know that I shouldn't sell myself short just because it's something that's tough, because I can overcome this. If I believe this is what I want to do it. When I was younger, there were things I couldn't think I could do, but I did it. So I just keep that same mindset. You can basically do whatever you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. And that was a mindset I had to have in those 4 years of playing basketball. Of course, there were times I wanted to quit. I wanted to switch majors, which I pretty much did and went back. But in the end of the day, I've had to figure out, this is my goal. This is my dream. And I really felt it was God driven in my heart to know my bigger purpose was to serve people and to give back. And being a doctor was that avenue. So I'm kind of happy for my decision.
I mean, you're a doctor now, so you made the right decision and you did what you needed to do. Man, so we both had the same major, biomedical science. And for those listening, y'all, this major is no joke. I'm thinking microbiology. I'm thinking biochemistry. I'm thinking all of the courses that you had to take while you were traveling, while you were playing basketball. Like, wow.
Organic chemistry, physics, it's all in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you did that. I'm interested to know what major you changed to, though, temporarily before you went back.
So in my mind, I was like, oh, well, if I don't want to be a doctor, I could do nursing.
Okay.
Which is not even easier. To be honest, like I switched to nursing really quick, and the program you have to get accepted in, and I got accepted. But the first day of orientation, they were like, "Oh, you have to be here at 5 a.m. and then you have to go to clinicals at 7 a.m." I was like, "I got practice at 6. I got to work out at 7. How am I going to do this?"
Oh no!
So literally the next day, I switched back. Sorry, I can't accept this exception into nursing. I'm going back to biomedical science. So that's my little short switch.
Okay, so nursing for like 2 days.
Right.
Claim to fame. Well, I mean, you did it. You graduated. And, I would love to hear for those who are in medical school who are done, any struggles after you graduated to get into medical school, to get into any maybe, other programs, or was it just like smooth sailing for you after that?
Smooth sailing, girl. I wish. There's like no such thing. I feel like everyone has some type of story or some type of struggle.
Yeah.
For me, it was that MCAT, that exam you need to take in order to get accepted to med school. I took it over probably 4 times and to try to get a decent score just to get accepted. I was waitlisted many times and I was interviewed, but I just couldn't get in. So I ended up going back to get my master's at USF as well. And I majored in medical sciences at that time to kind of strengthen my resume. Again, I still didn't get in. It was waitlisted. I thought it would be like, hey, I went to USF, accept me to USF, right? But no, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of obstacles. So that was my obstacle. And I ended up applying to Ross University and used that international med school leverage to just get my MD. And it was the best decision I ever made. I love that experience on the island in Dominica and got to build another level of character for me. Actually, it was tough being away from your family, having to study on your own. And it was definitely a challenge, but I think, again, made me stronger, made me who I am today. In every part of my past, every difficult level I went through helped me to accomplish, to go through med school and be on top and match into the residency program back at University of South Florida. So it's like full circle. It's like, it just all worked out. When you look back on it, it's like, wow, I wouldn't change a thing because it was needed to get me where I am today.
And literally everything happened for a reason. And like you said, it built character for you. And you got an international experience out of it. Like you probably built connections outside of your immediate network that would have been just at USF had you just got into USF. So I think it allowed you to kind of expand your network too, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I love that. Okay. So, I mean, at this point, you are really walking in the steps of your family. They're probably like, oh, Dr. Chichi, that's my daughter. She's a doctor. I'm sure they're just really, really proud. And And I think for those listening and on the call, there's no one career is better than another. That's not really what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is you really stuck to your guns. You walked in your purpose. You determined that this is really truly at your heart, at your core, within your spirit, that this is what you wanted to do. But this platform also highlights creativity. And so I'd love for you to kind of just dive in a little bit and discuss how you've infused creativity within your career right now as a physician.
I feel like being a physician was that vessel that got me to be creative. I didn't think I had it in me at all. This wasn't something I thought about. And I will give credit to social media in general, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
They give people that avenue to be themselves and to start thinking outside the box. So for me, it was more of how can I still serve people, but also stay true to myself and give back and allow people to learn at the same time.
Yeah.
So with my Instagram at ask_Dr. Chi, I started this platform to reach out to people in a fun way, but also have them learn at the same time and to give them power as people in case they were a patient or in case they do need advice on their weight or their blood pressure and things to eat. I feel like people need to know because a lot of people just don't know to me, I feel like it's basic, but to everyone else, it's like, oh, I didn't know that a teaspoon of salt is the daily requirement to have every day. So it's those little things that I want to be able to spread the news to allow them to know, because this is free information, but there's so much information out there. How do you distinguish from noise to what you need to know? So I hope with my information, it helps them to deliver the right information, not the misinformation, so they can just help themselves overall in general in their health. And also starting with my YouTube channel, I just started that like last month. Another avenue.
Killing it already.
I'm trying. Just another avenue just to have more videos, more people to see you, to know that, hey, I'm just like you. I just want to help you become the healthier version of yourself.
I love that. And I want to dive into the healthier version of yourself in just a minute, but I want to go back to something that you said earlier, that you were a physician and you just noticed all the creativity kind of happening around you on these social media apps that you were already using, and you didn't think you had the creativity within you. What triggered that for you internally that said, oh, I can actually do this? Like, I can do it and I will do it. And this is what I've done.
Was there a trigger, or I think it was more of like a life-changing experience for me?
Yeah.
I was going through like just a difficult low point of my life. And I felt like I lost myself, to say the least. I felt like I lost myself. So I took a Instagram, social media, Facebook, everything break for like 6 months. I was like, I can't do this. I need to just remove myself. You know, when you get to that point, sometimes you're like comparing yourself to things, you're wishing this better on yourself, and you're just wishing you're in a better place. And that shouldn't be how it should be.
Yeah.
So I took a step back from social media. And during that time, I said, if I am going to get back on social media, what am I going to do differently that will not just help me, it will help other people?
Wow.
And so that is that moment that kind of clicked for me. Like, okay, I'm not just going to post my selfies and just like, hey, I'm at the beach. I'm going to post something that will inspire other people, that in case they are going through things that I just went through, help them. And so from now on, I just been more positive on my posts and just bringing awareness of different issues, from, you know, self-care to medical problems to your hairstyle, like anything that will bring joy to someone's heart. That's my goal, period.
Wow.
That is what I want to do. If you're laughing, if you're smiling while you're looking at my post, then my job is done. So I think that is something that was like an aha moment for me, that I just needed to be that voice for someone. And because I know your voice is so powerful. What you say is very powerful. What you write is powerful. So if you're going to say something, make sure you're saying it for the right reasons. And that's, at the end of the day, it should be to help somebody.
Wow. I think that is completely selfless and noble of you. One, to have been self-aware, to be like, I need to get off for 6 months or whatever time. I'm sure you didn't say it's going to be 6 months. Like, you came back when you were ready with a purpose, and your purpose was to help people. And you've been doing just that. And, you know, I love how you said earlier is that you were creating content and people were just like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I think there's this wave now of social media being like an information source where people are learning things that maybe they should have learned a long time ago, but now we're like 20 something, 30 something years old today and just learning something that is probably basic information or knowledge.
Right.
I mean, you're really meeting people where they are. I'd kind of like to talk a little bit about maybe some examples of some of the content that someone can find on your YouTube or your Instagram page.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm doing on YouTube is I started a Dr. Cheese Health Kitchen. And so a couple of my episodes are basically explaining what you should put into your food. And one of the episodes I talk about high blood pressure for those who have it or trying to prevent it, or those who just need knowledge in it. I kind of bring, food to the table, and I break down, what is sodium? How much can you put in your food? And these are the types of food that you can and cannot eat. So just like an education background on what it is, what can you do about it, and how can you treat it? So just the basics for people to just understand the basics. And I think it's something that people should share, for their loved ones, for the people that are struggling with blood pressure or diabetes or cholesterol. That is probably my theme for my Dr. Cheese Health Kitchen. And I just want, again, share education for people who just either don't know or just need a reminder on the importance of health. And I also stress on those channels that there's just a disparity amongst the Black people in our nation when it comes to the white counterparts. That's just the truth. And so on this channel, I hope they know that I'm giving this out free information because I want you to win. I want you to be better than the others. And there's no other reason why that shouldn't be. Like, we should be competing for the healthiest spot.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's all about knowing before the other people. I feel like everyone else knows and some people just don't. And that's unfortunate.
Wow. It's a great pivot to kind of talk about COVID and how we're all at home right now. I can't believe that it's been almost like 10 months, honestly, since we've done some form of...
Wow.
Almost 10 months,
10
right?
months.
Because I'm thinking, right? I mean, doctor, please help me refresh my memory here. But I feel like one of the, the first case in the U.S. was like late January, early February, if I'm not mistaken.
That is true.
And so
that is true.
We are in almost, at the end of the year, October, right? And so I think it's crazy to think about how long it's been. But I also think that it's a great time to really start practicing self-care, managing our stress and our anxiety, taking care of the holistic body, right? And you said earlier, your platform is really doing that. But I'd really just love to get some thoughts around COVID in general and how that's affecting your work on a day-to-day basis, and then dive into some self-care management tips.
So recently we just surpassed a very grim milestone of 1 million in the US from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And just the thought of that honestly just breaks my heart. It's devastating to know that a virus had the power to kill that many people. We're at a point where I'm pretty sure everyone can say, oh, I know someone who died of COVID. And that's very sad and very unfortunate. And I truly believe a lot could have been done to avoid this.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, this is where we are. This is where we stand. And so now it's like, okay, what do we do now?
Absolutely.
There's people who are still grieving. There are people who are still suffering from anxiety, from loss of jobs or trying to find a job, depression. There's so many issues that are going on outside of COVID that people are struggling with. And it's just a lot. And then as a physician on the front lines and having to deal with people who are sick, for me, it's been a lot just to see those people just go from healthy to ICU intubated or unfortunately pass. I've seen it all. So it's been a heavy weight on myself, but I made a point to remember myself during these times and to focus on myself and my self-care and self-love, to know that I have to be well in order to treat someone else. And so that has been my focus.
Absolutely. And I also just want to take the time to thank you as a frontline worker, that you are working days on end. Like, we've had conversations on how hard you work and how many people you're seeing, and you're still creating through the midst of it and working to educate people. So I see you. I appreciate you. We thank you collectively from the AfroCurators team for, your work and your contributions to the medical field right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I do this because I love what I'm doing. This is something that I believe is part of my purpose. You can say I signed up for it, but I truly want to do it. It's just different. This is something we didn't expect. We didn't learn this in medical school. They didn't teach us a pandemic is going to come. What do you do? That was never a part of a chapter.
Yeah.
So this is all new for us. We just kind of were thrown out there into wildlife to figure out what to do. And I'm very proud and happy of my coworkers and the team around me of how we all adjusted to this. I can definitely say that, and I applaud everyone for it. But it's something that I love, so I can't say I didn't want to do it, I didn't sign up for it. But I truly enjoy it, and I'm just happy I have the knowledge to help people. I've gotten calls and texts from friends and family, other people who are in the situation of COVID, and they're asking me what to do. And to be honest, I was so blessed to have the knowledge to give that to them and the advice they needed. Like, it felt good. I was like, I can't imagine not knowing the basics of the treatment plan because it's scary. You know what I mean? Yeah. If your loved one's in the hospital, you're putting all your energy into the doctor and your nurses to take care of them. Like, that's your trust. That's just how it goes. So to be able to have that knowledge it's a blessing, to be honest.
Wow. I thank you again. And with this knowledge, I'd love for you to kind of share some best practices, right? Like, how does someone determine that they're stressed or that they're suffering from anxiety or depression, and that they need to take a pause and really reflect on what kind of self-care management they need to incorporate?
Everyone's different. Everybody's body is different, how they react to certain things. So my level of stress can be triggered off of, 3 weeks of working straight. Another person can be stressed after working a week, and then their bodies go into haywire. So everybody's different. So you have to just look at yourself and see what is different, things that are not normal for you. If you are sleeping less or sleeping in, or if you're eating too much or you're not eating at all, low appetite, you feel like you're getting just irked easily off talking on the phone with somebody, or different things that you notice that aren't normal for you. You need to check yourself. You really just need to check yourself. Take a step back and say, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This isn't me. This isn't normal. And then it's like, okay, so what do I do to fix this? Like, why am I reacting this way? Because I know my body and I know that something is not right. Is it because I just lost my job and I'm freaking out? I'm nervous about paying for my child support or paying for the bills. Like, what is really going on? And once you find what the issue is, find a way to fix it or not. Take a step back and take a day for yourself. Do nothing. Yeah. Everyone is just different, but we have to recognize when we are anxious or going down the slope of depression, or, there's so many different issues that can go on with our bodies that if we don't recognize soon enough, we'll be in the hospital on a mental break or in the hospital because our diabetes got out of control because, we're not taking care of ourselves the way we are. There's so much stress in everybody's lives nowadays. There's so much. And so it's just important to first just recognize it and figure out what it is and try to fix it. That's the best advice I have because it's just a stressful world. Every day is stressful. And this year, 2020, it's just like the epitome of stress.
Like you said earlier, there's no perfect bow to say, like, if you have X, this is why you're stressed. Like, it's seriously different for every single person. And normalizing that it is okay to have moments where you need to take a pause or you need to take a break, particularly now with a lot of us, the majority of us working from home or working in like these hybrid functions. So I'd love Chi to get some insight into maybe best practices from working from home and how you can stay productive. And then we could tap into, 5 ways to maintain just self-care.
So people who are working from home have to realize that they are less active and they have to switch their minds to say, okay, I have to move today. So whether that's early in the morning before you start your work or after work, to get moving. And get moving isn't just standing up on your chair, which you should do during the day, but actually going outside, taking a walk, taking a jog, riding a bike, rollerblading, whatever it may be, to stay active, because your heart, don't forget, is still a muscle. It needs to be used. And when you don't use it, you lose it. literally. So it
Literally, yeah.
needs to be active. So taking that walk outside makes a
Mm-hmm.
huge difference, at least 3-4 times a week, at least. That's the best thing I can say to actually get your body still moving and your mind still moving outside of just staying at home. And even when you're at home, your diet is a big factor, because either
Absolutely.
you can make a decision to cook healthy meals or you can just order out and get to go. And my recommendation, of course, is the home cooking. That's always the best option. And when you do decide to cook, you're baking your food, you're seasoning it well with not as much salt, and you're not frying, things like that. Those little tactics make a huge difference. So for me, working at home is great, but make sure you get outdoors and do what you have to do to stay active and get that heart muscle moving.
Yeah, I agree to everything that you just said. I feel like sometimes when you work from home, like the fridge starts talking to you and starts saying, come look at me every 5 minutes.
It's
You
true.
go to the fridge and you're like, wait a minute, it's the same stuff. Like, why do I keep thinking I'm going to find something to eat in this fridge? And then you keep eating. That's just a personal problem for me. I don't know if anybody else
Oh,
is affected.
oh, girl. If people who know me, I am a queen snacker. My pantry is just snacks. So I can't even judge anyone else, like, honestly. And it's not like the healthiest either. It's just snacks, 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 snacks. I just have to pick at stuff all the time. But I will say the thing that saves me is because I work out. So
Yeah.
it just have to be a balance there. It just has to.
That's true. Working out is great. Like you said, the 2, 3, 4 times, a week, getting out of the house, or even like YouTube, there's a ton. There's so many
Oh, yeah.
free workout classes that you can take advantage of. There are quite a few that I do.
Yeah, it definitely helps. But I love the YouTube idea for sure. There's a lot of yoga on there as well that I actually
Yeah.
use that would be perfect at home. So yeah, I definitely agree.
All right. So I'd love to hear, what are some like tangible self-care things that we can do to recharge, reset, revitalize, rejuvenate? Would you say are your top 5 things that we can do?
So yeah, so everyone's different again. So everyone can, find the best way for their self-care regimen that fits their schedule, that fits the type of person they are, just so they enjoy it. For me, working out is my thing that I feel like I just love to get a sweated and just renew myself. That's just my personal self-care bit that I have to do at least 4 times a week. That's just for me. Another one for sure is yoga. A lot of peace, a lot of breathing, a lot of exhaling and stretching and just mindfulness. So I truly appreciate yoga for self-care. And another one, meditation. I
Love that.
am using meditation as a tool to just calm my mind and my spirits and my soul. And I'm not perfect
I
at it
love
because my
that.
mind's always going everywhere. So learning how to meditate is key. And I'm still working on it. It's very difficult, but I appreciate it a lot because it just calms me down because I'm always all over the place. Another one that I actually love to do, I don't know if people know about me, but I love to skate.
You love to
I'm a
skate?
rollerblader. I do some
What?
cardio. Yeah, I skate. I cardio skate. Like I have my rollerblades in back of my trunk. I whip them
Wow.
out. I go to the park and I just skate for like at least 6 miles. I love it.
Wow. That's personally shocking for me. I love that. I've known you for a while and I did not know this about you.
Yeah, I skate. I really do skate. And the new thing that I want to get into is like roller skating, how you like kind of dance and move with it. Girl, if I do
Okay.
that, it's a new level. But yeah.
I
And then
love
I would
that.
say the other one is family, which is not active, but it's mindful active activity for me because I'm able to talk to my family, talk to my mom, my sisters. That for me, honestly, is my self-care because it shows me that I still have someone there supporting me through my decisions, through my mistakes, through my venting hours. So I think it's important just to have somebody or some people around to make sure to check in on you or you check in on them and vice versa. So for me, self-care, family, friends, those people that will keep your soul in check, keep your happiness in check. And I think that's like honestly probably one of the most important things. I lied. Most important thing is prayer.
Yes, say that. Say
Let me go
that.
back. That's one of the most important things. Say that. God will forgive me. Oh, God and my peaceful time, honestly, has been my rock and my key for like, especially the last few months, honestly, when I've been focused on God and prayer, I've noticed so much peace in my being. And I'm not just saying that, I truly mean that. It's been something I'm discovering now in this time of my life of the importance of having God, and 2020 teaching me that through all this noise and roughness and killing and dying and equalities, I'm learning that the only thing that's constant is God. And so all that noise I'm able to silence because I have that core faith and that spiritual side of me. So I'm very thankful for that side and just God in general. So I didn't do 5, I did 6. So
that's okay. It's a bonus. It's a bonus. You know what? I think I hear this question, or I've had conversations around this, and I'd love to know what you would decide the differences between prayer and meditation.
It just depends on who you ask. But for me, there's just a difference if you just don't include it, I guess, if you don't include prayer in your meditation.
Got
so
it.
Meditation can be strictly silencing your mind, just being one in the moment, not thinking of anything else, not thinking of who's coming over tomorrow, what am I cooking for dinner. It's literally staying in the moment and just appreciating that moment. And then prayer, you can add prayer into your meditation where you're reciting prayers or you're just thinking of God the whole time, things that you're thankful for, and just staying silent in that moment with those thoughts. Then that would be the difference, in my opinion. So sometimes I like to, mix the two together. But I guess it kind of depends on what your desire is for that 10 minutes or hour or whatever it may be.
I love how you kind of snuck in the time there, because I think sometimes people think that these tactics take forever. It's going to take a significant amount of time. And there's meditation that could be literally a minute, right? Like you're taking deep breaths in, you're silencing the noise, you're removing yourself from the situation or an environment. So for me, sometimes it might be that I just like stand up and go outside and it's like warm weather and it completely makes me feel like I'm in a different space. But there's some really cool meditation apps that I wanted to shout out that I've had experience with. There's like Insight Timer, there's Headspace, which I used at my previous company. And those two are really good. There's also a really dope platform. I really think it's just called the Motivation app. And every morning it sends you like a really powerful motivation text, which is really good because I'm now purposely practicing gratefulness.
I will check that out.
Wow. Look at all those gems that were just dropped. Some amazing information that you are able to apply to your life. I hope you're motivated. I hope it moved you. And I hope that you learned something new. So with that being said, we're going to jump into our lightning round. To pay homage to the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, I am a firm believer in community and the magic of ensuring that we are all learning and growing together. With that being said, we will dive into our lightning round segment called, drumroll please, It Takes a Village.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
So, for someone who knows nothing about Nigeria, what would you highlight about your country?
Food, language, and grit.
Grits. Tell me more about grits.
No, grit, like intensity, like motivation, like going
grit.
after it, determination.
I'm gonna keep that in there because that was really authentically Sky just now. It really was. I'm over here thinking about food. You said grit. Like you meant grit, like grit. Okay, got it.
We don't eat grit. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
All right. Okay, next question. If you could travel to a country outside of Nigeria, where would you go and why?
Tanzania. I would just say that because it's a different side of Africa that people don't get to experience. And I want to experience it. I haven't gotten a chance, but I read about it. I see the pictures, all that good stuff. So yeah, Tanzania for sure.
Love it. Tanzania is beautiful. Who are 3 people who have been the most influential to you?
Ooh, in my whole life?
Yes.
Yeah.
You had some people just flash through your head just now.
I did, but I didn't know if it was just like recently or like forever. But I will say, number 1, my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
And number 3, Aman.
Oh.
And I will end it there.
Okay. I love that shout out. Okay. What's one tool or resource you have used to build your business or brand?
One tool or resource I would say is Zoom. Actually, I think Zoom has been priority in being able to communicate with my team members or my partner. So we were able to communicate effectively and build our brand and build our business the way we want. So Zoom has actually been that resource for me that has been a lifesaver. Being able to share the screen, things like that comes with it, I appreciate. So
that's a good one. I like that. What is still a challenge for you as a creative?
Time. I have so many ideas in my head and on paper, and I just don't have the time to do it. And it really is, it's a shame. I come to it eventually, but there's so much that I want to put out there. It's just with work and life and personal things, it just prevents me to sharing so much love and information out there that I want. So I would have to say time.
Wow, that's a really good one. And I hope that in the near future, you can hire someone or figure out a resource that will allow more time for you to do the things you really want to do too. Okay. As I'm working on that myself. What is one Afrobeat that's on rotation for you right now? Afrobeat song.
I love Afrobeat. So this is putting me on the spot. But I will say one song in particular right now is Chop Life by Flavor and Fino.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of it, but when you listen to it, it's just a song that just tells you just to live your life, celebrate now. I think one of the lines is basically, are you going to celebrate now or are you going to have a party when I die? You know what I mean? Like, celebrate now and live your life.
Give me my flowers now.
Chop life. You know what I mean? So enjoy life as it is. I love it.
All right, we'll have this so people can find the song easily to listen to that. Hopefully it'll give you some motivation in your creative lives.
Wow.
And the last question I have for you in the lightning round is, what do you think the future of Africa looks like?
Future of Africa. Future of Africa looks like more travel, more investments, more life. I think we're at a point where people are getting interested. Their ears are starting to tingle a little bit and they're trying to figure out what's going on over there and they're excited. So I think in the future, it's going to be more of that. It's just going to be like a wave of just, I need to go to Africa. I need to invest in Africa. And we need to make it known that Africa was here before anything else. So Africa's where it's at. Africa to the world. So that's the future.
Africa to the world.
Yes.
More travel, more life. That's a great way to end. More life to Africa. And thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. Again, thank you for the work that you're doing within the medical field and also just education with, through your creative side and teaching us how to be healthier and maintain our wellness through the era of COVID and beyond. So for those listening, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you? If you can let us know again so that people gain some of these tips and knowledge through your platforms.
Yes, so many ways to find me. I think the most active way is on Instagram. You can find me at ask_Dr. Chi, that's CHI. And my website is thedrchi.com. And also on YouTube, Ask Dr. Chi. So many different avenues. You can reach me, DM me, have any questions. I'm here to answer them. So thank you so much for having me. I truly, truly enjoyed being on this show with my friends. And I just wish this podcast the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to AfroCurators, the podcast. Before you do anything else, do me a favor. Subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. This will allow other listeners just like you to find the show. Then, when you're done, take a screenshot of the episode, add it to your stories, and tag us. We'll be sure to show love right back. If you want to hear more about dope creatives of African descent, be sure to follow us everywhere at AfroCurators and sign up for our newsletter at AfroCurators.com. I'm your host, Sky Dahan. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I cannot wait for you to join us on our next episode.